Well, some people have said, it's a waste of money. And my answer to that is, what's a real waste? What's a tragic waste is to lose someone today to COVID, because we now have the vaccine, and the vaccine works exceedingly well. So that's the real tragedy. This is a program that we announced a few weeks ago as we were seeing our cases, frankly, go down. As we're seeing the vaccinations go down. And we couldn't figure out any way to get them moving back up, and came up with the idea of doing this lottery. And it's worked. It's worked exceedingly well. We've got a lot of enthusiasm out there, a lot of excitement. We had our first winners announced. And, more importantly, we've seen the number of vaccinations go up. We've seen about a 45% increase in vaccinations. The rural areas of the state where, candidly, the uptake and the vaccination has been the lowest. That's where we've seen the most increase. And we've also seen, interestingly, we're offering not just $1 million to adults, but for young people, they have the chance to win a 4-year full scholarship, full ride, room, board, tuition, et cetera, to an Ohio State university. And so among 16 and 17-year-olds, we've really seen a dramatic increase in vaccinations. In fact, it's gone up 94%.
Yeah, I saw your tweet to Joseph Costello of Englewood, a young student who has got himself a 4-year scholarship. Governor, last time you and I talked, we were actually talking about common sense ways to deal with gun violence. We have just experienced another mass shooting in Northern California. You and I actually talked about things like red flag laws. What do you think we do now? We seem like we have this conversation, this type of conversation every time there's another mass shooting, and then it quiets down, and then we have another one. What do you suggest we do?
Well, we have a bill in front of the legislature that, we asked them to pass. I think we have a decent chance of getting it passed this year. And it does a number of different things. One thing it does is really respond to what mayors have told me in our cities across Ohio and chiefs of police. And that is that there's a small number of the criminal element that's committing most of the violent crime. And, every week we're seeing Ohioans, innocent victims who are dying because they've been shot. And almost in every case, the person who was the assailant, the perpetrator, has got a criminal record. They're not supposed to have a gun anyway. They're a repeat violent offender. And so what our bill does is it gives judges the discretion to really throw the book at that person, get them out of the community if they're found in possession of a gun. And that would go a long, long way to making a big difference. We know it will save lives.
Governor, I was looking at a poll that came out from Quinnipiac today, which says 55% of Americans are looking back at January 6th saying it's an attack on democracy. 39% say too much is being made of this. When you break it down by party, it seems like almost 3/4 of Republicans, this is a new poll, it says 74% of Republicans share the view that too much is being made of this. How do we get past this with America? Because it does seem like people are in their corners and hunkered down about this particular topic.
Well, what we've tried to do in Ohio is just focus on things that really matter, getting our economy moving forward, jobs. We feel we're in a good position where we're going. As far as that tragedy, it was hard to watch that day. As you pointed out, I spent 20 years in Congress, and first the House, then the United States Senate. And, that was just a very sad day. Very sad day.
Governor, let's talk a little bit about, as you said, the economy. We've got a situation where the country is starting to open up. As you say, we're still bumping up against a high limit in terms of what people getting vaccinated. We're making inroads with projects like yours. There are other things going on around the country. It does seem like a lower number of people are now firm about not getting vaccinated. But again, the same poll still indicates it's up above 35%, down from 45% last month. What's a number in your mind? We have a number of states that have reached the 70% threshold that a lot of people think is important. What do you think we do about this?
My wife and I, once we got vaccinated ourselves, we spent a lot of time and continue to do it, go to vaccination sites. We've been to over 40 And what we do there is just talk to people and find out, okay, what's motivating you? Why did you come in today, not a month ago? And what we found out is, there's three groups. There's people who've already got their vaccine, and they're the ones who really want it. You got people who are never going to get it, and they're just not going to get it. But you've got a group in the middle, and that's where we have to focus. That's where the game today really is those people in the middle. And what we found is, in a lot of cases, they just didn't feel strongly about it. They weren't against getting it. There just was not a real sense of urgency. And so what I came away, and Fran came away from those discussions and listening to people, is that we could do things. We could persuade people to get vaccinated. In some cases, really what we were doing, and I think what we've done with this lottery, is moved up the date that people will get vaccinated. And, if you can get someone vaccinated this week as opposed to 2 months or 3 months from now, that goes a long way to knock down this virus. One less person who not only can get it, but one less person who can spread it.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are incredible in Ohio. You saw a 45% increase in people being vaccinated after announcing Vax-A-Million, a 94% increase among teens aged 16 to 17. Obviously, some of those people were also learning of the fact that they should be getting vaccinated or can be getting vaccinated. But these numbers are undeniable. Governor, good to see you. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you. Good to be with you.